This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
What's going on, everybody? Patriots postgame show. I'm John Zannis. This is Greg Bedard live on the field in Foxborough where the Patriots, a good old-fashioned whooping, 42-13, the likes of which we haven't seen in a long time, and kind of refreshing to have a game like this, Greg, after what happened last week and all of the things that we said and critical of the team. And, and I'm curious, how your thoughts have changed on some of the stuff that we were talking about last week. Before we get into this, I do want to say that the show, as always, is brought to you by Prize Picks, the largest daily fantasy sports platform in all of North America. Download that app today, code CLNS, and get 50 in your lineups when you play 5. Code CLNS 50 in lineups when you play 5. Prize Picks, run your game. Also, Game Time. Download that Game Time app. Create an account. Again, code CLNS, 20 off your first purchase. That's all you have to do. And if you're not sure about it, and we've said CLNS 1,000 times, this show is obviously part of the CLNS Media Network. Please like us, subscribe, follow our YouTube channels, and all that good stuff. Let's get into the game, Greg. Last week, your number one takeaway and what you wrote about, what you focused a lot on, coaching. What's up with these guys? They don't look ready to play. Sloppy. Just too many things going wrong here. And the way that this game started, with the Panthers marching down the field, just ripping through for a touchdown drive with almost zero resistance, and then the Patriots, another sloppy first possession where they didn't look good. Drake Maye too amped up, makes a terrible throw, maybe one of his only bad ones all game. And it kind of started to feel like, oh, crap, is this what we're doing again? And then everything changed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say one game and one blowout, and it was nice to get a blowout win over the Panthers, that everything is corrected. I think a big difference between last week and this week was just the opponent. I mean, look, I have a lot of respect for what the Panthers do. I do think that they're well coached. I think they're better than what they showed today. They're not a very talented team. They were down a bunch of starters. Then they lose. They get 12 yards on the first play of the game, and the guy goes out with basically like a broken wrist or a broken arm. And they were already short at wide receiver. They didn't have anything. Then they had one of their offensive linemen go out, a defensive lineman go out. So the Panthers just weren't able to quite take advantage of the Patriots' jackassery that we talked about last week. It was there, outside of the turnovers. Drake, put one into harm's way, almost got picked off. Ramondre Stevenson, who actually started the game, did not fumble today, so that was good. But I thought it was more of a case of the opponent just not being able to take advantage, because at the end of the day, the Panthers did drive into Patriots territory 6 times in this game. Now,
a lot.
Give the Patriots credit that they sort of stiffened up, after they crossed the 50. That was good, sort of, shades of Belichick, bend but don't break. But I'm not going to sit here and just say everything is solved for the Patriots. And, here they go to Buffalo. They got a real chance to, knock out the Bills and sort of make a run for the AFC East. I'm not ready to say that yet, but, this was a step in the right direction. We also saw, speaking of jackassery, the penalties were still an issue in the first half. They had 6 penalties, 5 were accepted. You had Chason going off offsides. Apparently, he needs to go offsides like once a game just to get into the game flow, apparently. Carlton Davis, 2 big penalties. It was still there. I just thought, the difference in the game was the opponent, Marcus Jones, and Drake Maye and Josh McDaniels, who I thought were, really on top of their game today.
Yeah, so I want to talk about that because, again, you had a couple of really masterful drives there with McDaniels. You had the one where, they run that jet sweep and it's an explosive play, and then they fake a jet sweep and get another handoff on there where the Panthers are on their heels. And just a really masterful, a couple of really well-orchestrated drives. Part of the concern, certainly after week 1 with Drake Maye and the shaky preseason, was, are these guys jiving right now? Is it working? Does he know what he's doing with Drake Maye, or does Drake Maye understand what Josh McDaniels is trying to do? How do you feel better about that after watching today's performance?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think really since the week 1 game where everything was so new for everybody, I really think the offense has been, pretty good. It hasn't been perfect, and it would have looked a lot better without the 2 turnovers within the 2-yard line. But I think, week after week, I see a quarterback who is just growing more and more comfortable with what he's being asked to do in this offense. I see a play caller who, understands more what the players under his control, like, Steph Diggs or Drake Maye or, Henderson. I thought they used creatively today.
That's how you say it.
I see an offense that is starting to find their strides. And I really think like they're not even close to what they're going to be able to do. It seems like they're layering or improving each week on what they're able to do. And we didn't hear any whining from Mike Vrabel today about explosive plays because they were all over the place. I looked before I came down through the 1 p.m. games. The Patriots lead the league in explosive play rate, almost 17%. Their passing play rate today was almost 1 out of every 3 pass play went for an explosive play. And that's a pretty good Panthers defense, especially in the secondary. But what I thought Josh McDaniels did a great job today of doing was the Panthers were really short on the edges. They had to start 2 rookies. They called up Boogie Basham from the practice squad. They had really nobody on the edge. And what you saw was McDaniels, pressing the edge, whether it was, end arounds or make May with boot action or, just a variety of plays that sort of push the envelope on the edge. And the Panthers just really didn't know what to do with that. And the Patriots sort of ate on the outside of the Panthers defense.
Okay. Every week, everybody watching, they kind of want to know the same sort of thing, which is can we start to get really excited about Drake Maye? And I mean, there's obviously been reasons to be excited, but sorry, a lot of noise coming through here. This was nearly a perfect game again from him, minus like that one bad throw, and I think he missed Diggs again. And again, you can only ask him to do what's in front of him, right? And he's doing it. At what point are you starting to be like, he's there, he's got it? Like, can we get excited?
I think you can get increasingly excited every week. I just, caution people. I think, the next game at Buffalo Sunday night in front of those fans, let's see what he does. And I think that's sort of a litmus test for, where Drake Maye is right now. And so, yeah, you can get excited. I mean, I'm a little bit more excited. I wish the Panthers were a little bit more at full strength on defense, especially at edge rusher, because they really had nothing going there. And like I said, the Patriots took advantage of them because this was, according to advanced analytics and DVOA and all that, this was the best defense by far, especially passing defense, that they faced this season. I mean, it's not even close. I think they were 11th in pass DVOA coming into this. The other 3 teams that they played were all in the bottom 6th. So, I think it's a spot to take another level up with excitement, but I think there's no reason to go overboard, at this point. This is a 2-2 team. They have after Buffalo, they have a bunch of easy games on paper coming up, but I think I would just be excited with the level of comfort that Drake seems to be having. Like the more that comes, John, the more plays that he's going to make, the playmaker, the off script stuff that people were begging for after one game. I don't think we hear too much being on his plate at this point in time, because it seems like McDaniels and May are really meshing. And I really think they're just scratching the surface on what they're capable of.
Yeah, he's not. He hasn't even fully been unlocked in terms of what he can do physically. But again, what he's being asked to do, and you're seeing the improvisation. Even though like every time he gets moving or he's getting on the run, I think good things happen. But also, it just stresses the defense. You look at that Hunter Henry play where he's kind of rolling out there. That's they gotta respect what May's going to do with his legs. Then he makes what looks like, I think, a really nifty little throw there,
Yeah.
slipping it to Henry, and Henry kind of walks in, and it looks like a ho-hum touchdown, almost like the Panthers fell asleep on it, but there was a lot going on that play. Then you have a fourth down play, a couple of really good throws in the seam to people, a couple of tight window throws, and then the really great back shoulder stop to Diggs there on that fourth down. There's some really like high level plays mixed in there where, again, I think the number one thing with Maye is you just don't want to see him missing a lot of plays. You don't want to see him holding it too long. You want to see him play on time and then make high-level throws. And I think that's what you're seeing. And again, you have to take the opponent, into consideration. But how much better could you have done today if you were him?
Not much. I mean, I thought
much.
he was dynamite. Like you said, that Hunter Henry play, when he was rolling out over there, I was like, well, what's he going to do with this? Is he going to run? And then
right.
I was thinking to myself, I'm like, there's no way he can get the ball to Hunter Henry. But he did. That's kind of like a Josh Allen-like play. I mean, the
right.
Stefon Diggs 30-yard pass layered in perfectly. That's a dot. You had like you said, there was a 3rd and 15 conversion over the middle. That was great. The fourth down back shoulder. You even saw I liked seeing Travion Henderson was in the right flat, and he, sort of gave him like a touch pass. I mean, it just seems like, this is a guy that's starting to understand what he can do. And I think really he can't get there without understanding the offense, what they're asked to do, what am I looking for on this play as far as, defensive coverage and things like that. And I think each week he's getting more and more comfortable with that. That's why after the first week, I told people, like, just relax, just take a breath. It was the first game in this offense. It was his first season opener as a starter. Just give it time, let him be able to take what he saw on the field, go watch the film and make the corrections. And I think that's what you're seeing. I mean, what do you have? Like an 84.6 completion percentage today? I mean, it was just ridiculous. And both of those passes are ones he'd like to have back. The one to Diggs, the one that was a near interception. But the kid's doing great so far.
He's doing great. The guy we talked about a little bit, but I think it's, again, almost every question is going to always be like, is this real, right? When you see something good, you want to know if it's real, is it sustainable? Stefon Diggs jumps in here with his first 100-yard game. Their connection was good. And I think this is the kind of thing where it's it was almost spoken into existence. As you were seeing Demario Douglas and Maye struggling to connect, Maye throwing high to him, Pop not being necessarily in the right place. And then just the way that Diggs plays nowadays, the type of player he is, I think a lot of people, myself included, were like, more slot reps make sense here. Let's get him different places on the field where Maye can find him. And I think you kind of saw it today. I think unofficially, Pop fell to about, and again, they're playing a lot of 12, so they're interchanging 3 receivers. So Diggs is sometimes out, sometimes in. I'm not sure where he lined up primarily today, but you did see his snaps tick up, and you saw Douglas nearly disappear today. Is this where this is going?
Yeah, I think so. And, one aspect of all of this is because of Drake Maye's legs, a lot of teams are, choosing to play zone against the Patriots. And, in this offense, you need a sort of savvy veteran that understands the coverages and what he's going to get post-snap and where the holes are. And that's Steph Diggs. And, I thought that, their connection grew, certainly took a big step forward today. It's only going to get more. I wasn't in the locker room or the player post-game press conferences, but I'm kind of guessing that Steph Diggs probably talked today after he didn't talk last week. And, apparently he was available in a uniform early on last week, but I'm going to guess he talked quite a bit after this game because he got fed. Steph Diggs likes to get fed. And as much as he says he doesn't, and he's not asking for the ball, I mean, when the quarterback comes out 2 straight weeks and says, I need to get Steph the ball, there's obviously something at play. He got Steph the ball today. It was good for the Patriots passing game, and I look for that to continue.
Yeah, and just in terms of the rest of it here, you're still not seeing a lot of Kyle Williams, but you did, as far as weapons are concerned, Ramondre didn't lose his job, but Henderson was intentionally worked into the mix a lot more. You saw it. Ramondre started, and I'm actually for that. I hate the idea of just punishing people as if they're going to learn, by not playing. You just don't have the type of team where you can completely go away from Ramondre Stevenson right now. But Henderson was in second snap of the game. And again, it felt like they were kind of interchangeable today, where they were just using them. And again, I'm trying to look it up right now, what we had in terms of total snaps, but it definitely feels like Henderson actually not as much as involved as I thought. Still 2-1, 28-15, but definitely trying to get him the ball more.
Yeah, and I thought that Henderson's usage, the way they used him today, and we saw him lined up at wide receiver, and I think he got an end around at one point. I thought that as far as the game plan against the Panthers, and we talked about their edges and having issues there. I thought that Henderson would factor in a little bit more, use his speed and space and all that stuff, and so it was good. It was a little bit. Say for Henderson, he scored his first career touchdown between the tackles in the red zone, a good power run. So that was good to see. I'm sure it'll lead to more people saying why isn't he our every down back? And we'll be saying this every week. I just seeing Henderson in the locker room on Friday, he is not a big dude. He is a smaller dude, and so you really want him to expand on what you saw as far as using him in space more and more. And the more he runs between the tackles, the less you're going to get of that. So I thought it was a good job by Josh McDaniels getting him involved. And I do think there's an element of maybe hiding Henderson, a little bit to unleash him, like against maybe a Buffalo Bills opponent that doesn't think he's going to be used very much. Maybe you incorporate him a little bit more next week.
Yeah. We haven't gotten to it yet, but we will. But one more thing on Henderson. I do like, Greg, that I like his pad level when he's running, even when he's going through the tackles. He's not meant to take 20, 25 carries, but he definitely he lowers his shoulder. Sorry. He lowers his shoulders. He's not afraid of contact. So he's okay to mix it up. I thought he had some good plays in there. Again, you want to see his touches tick up into the 15 to 20 range, or, 10, 12, 15 to kind of fully utilize him as a weapon. Another guy I'm curious, well, first off, we'll talk about his contributions on special teams, but, Marcus Jones.
Here we go.
Your guy, okay? You're happy to talk about him. You can't not talk about it. 88-yard touchdown, first quarter, after the Patriots had kind of started slow there, which was nice. And then he sets a franchise record, 167 punt return yards in the game. Total weapon. Just talking about him today a little bit, Greg.
Yeah, I thought you were going to go right to why can't we use Marcus Jones more in offense? Yeah, I figured you were going to go there.
I'm going to get there.
Okay, you're going to get there? All right.
On the back end. First, we'll talk about what's actually happening, and then we'll do that.
Yes.
You got to get Marcus Jones. Then we'll talk fantasy
football and Madden football. Yeah, we'll talk that in a second.
We'll do the radio thing. Yeah.
His punt returns obviously were tremendous. I mean, I was shocked. At the first punt return, that was, really, I thought the game
should have been tackled. Yeah,
he should have been. The game kind of swung there. Maybe it was a little bit later, but them punting there, and you figure you're like, it's either going to be a fair catch or it's going to be a touchback. One of two things. And then all of a sudden, I see him fielding the ball, and I'm like, wait a minute, why is he running with the ball? He didn't. Amit,
yeah. Where you going, buddy?
Yeah. It was unbelievable to me that he actually ended up returning that. I think it surprised the Panthers. There was a guy behind him waiting to, down the football. That was just a great play. And he was basically untouched for 87 yards. And then the second one, he almost returned again. Those are huge swings for a football team. And this team isn't good enough, especially on defense, to not get contributions from special teams or to have them be a negative, which they've been way too many times. But today was a good day for Jeremy Springer and the special teams units.
Okay. Why won't he play a little offense? McDaniels knows, right? He knew it, right?
Yeah. He's not Alex Van Pelt. He actually watches film and understands. Yes.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
I'm not saying The only reason I bring this up is the same reason you would have brought it up last year or the year before. The Patriots lack game-changing talent. You have it a little bit with Travion Henderson, and that kind of is probably the answer. You've already got Henderson in here.
Yes.
You got to find ways to scheme him up, and that's probably the answer. You got that guy, but you didn't before, and you don't have a lot of people that can do stuff with the ball in their hands. You get receivers who catch it and fall down. And so Marcus Jones is a guy who do something with the ball in his hands. I'm still surprised there isn't a designed play where he's out there 4 or 5 snaps a week on offense just to keep the defense honest.
Well, a couple of problems with that. If you want Marcus Jones to get snaps on offense, you're taking those away from somebody, notably Travion Henderson. There's already enough people whining about Travion Henderson's usage, so now he's going to
drafted
Travion
him.
Henderson is your space player. That's what he's there to do.
Exactly.
So he's going to take away from Travion Henderson. Secondly, how much are you going to play him? He has enough on his plate on defense. He's had some issues this year. And quite frankly, I thought, and I'll have to go back and look at this, I thought his role before Charles Wood got hurt, I thought his role on defense was reduced, that he was more of a dime player that Woods was playing in front of him. So he's got enough on his plate on defense. He's got enough on his plate on punt return. And then if you want him to play on offense, how many snaps is that going to be? The other team's going to be keying on him. They're going to know something's up. Maybe you could work off of that once in a while. I just think, look, like I just said, this offense through the 1 p.m. games has the biggest explosive play rate in the NFL, the biggest explosive pass rate in the NFL. Let Josh McDaniels cook a little bit. Keep people out of his kitchen. Let him do what he's doing. He's doing pretty good. So just let Mac keep cooking.